Hey guys, this is going to be my unboxing and first impressions video of the Mini 0806 dash camera. So this was sent to me courtesy of digcams.com, and from what I've seen there might be a couple different packages, but this is the one that was sent to me. The contents might vary depending on where you buy it from. So I'm going to post a link down below in the description to the DigCams website for this camera. But as usual, I'm going to spend a couple weeks before I put up my full review, so this video will have the unboxing, some of my first impressions after having this for a few days, and some quick clips of what the camera looks like in action. So I've seen a different package that was a lot smaller than this one, and that might be the newer package, but this is what I received. As you can see here, you can pause it if you'd like to read this, but there's quite a lot of features listed on the back. I'm not going to go over everything in this video, but something noteworthy to point out is it does have a 4 megapixel CMOS sensor, a very wide 2560 by 1080 cinema mode, and also a 1296p mode, which is obviously higher than full HD at 1080p. High dynamic range, 2 micro SD card slots which each support 128 gigabytes for a total of 256 gigabytes. And what is pretty cool is it does come with a magnetic CPL filter. It also has a lane departure and forward collision warning system, which a lot of people ask about. So the packaging is pretty nice. It's definitely a step up from a lot of the generic Chinese brand cameras. This big box on the right side has all the content, other than the camera and the docking station right on the left side. So here's the actual camera, and it does actually look a little different than the prior Mini cameras. So nothing else left in there. So this dash camera actually comes with quite a lot of different accessories. But like I said before, the package you get might vary. Here's an instruction manual. Seems to be pretty well written. I'm not going to go over everything, but I'll flip through it real quick. You might be able to pause it and read some of it. I'll probably go over anything noteworthy in my final review. Here's the 12-volt charger, a cleaning cloth, which is always nice, your standard cable clips with adhesives on the back. I do use these once in a while, but not very many of them, except for my side cameras. Here's a hard wiring kit, which was pretty nice that it was included. I'm not sure if every package includes the hard wiring kit. Just a data cable. And it's worth noting that this is micro USB and not mini USB like most dash cameras. Here's some adhesives and some additional angle mounting plates. There's some screws for those plates. Comes with quite a few adhesives. And here's the CPL filter. Again, I'm not sure if this is included in every Mini 0806 camera, but it is a pretty useful feature. I don't personally use mine that often, but they can be useful on really sunny days to reduce glare in the windshield, and also it can correct the color a little bit better. So this one just sticks on magnetically, and typically you have to turn it, and I would assume that white line will go down to reduce the glare. So there's actually a micro USB port on either side in case you need to mount it the opposite direction. So then there's the micro USB port on the actual camera, a micro SD card slot on each side, and then an HDMI port. So those mounting plates go on the bottom of the base mount, and then you can add an angle to it if you need to, and that's where you would use those screws to screw those plates on. I had issues getting the camera out of the mount. You'll see me struggle quite a bit, and I keep hitting the power button, so I'm not really a big fan of the power button being right on the end. I asked about this on Dashcam Talk, and someone mentioned that prior models were too loose and they made it a lot tighter, but after a while it does actually get more loose, and I can confirm after pulling it in and out a few times it is a lot easier. Another thing I struggled with was getting the plastic off of the screen. After trying for a few minutes to get this off, I was actually convinced that that was some sort of plastic that was sticking out from inside of the camera. So I continued to struggle to get this thing off. This was when I put it on the first time, and it is a ridiculously tight fit. I eventually had to take it off while off camera because I kept hitting the tripod over. But like I said, it did come off easier eventually. Now this is the hardwiring kit, and like I mentioned before, this does use micro USB instead of the more common mini USB on a lot of dash cameras. The black would go to ground, and the red would go to the ACC or battery connection. So this will let you run your camera without using one of your 12-volt sockets, but besides that, it'll also let you hook it up to a permanent power source, so you could technically run it all the time even when your car is off, and the box will protect your car battery and cut the power to the camera if it reaches that 12-volt or around 12-volt threshold. But typically it's not recommended for cameras with batteries because it is a good way to kill the battery quicker if you're using it all the time. So typically capacitor cameras are more recommended for using in a parking mode. So I had a little bit too much sky in this video, but either way it ended up looking really great to me. I thought the brightness was pretty much perfect for this time of day, even with how much sky I have showing, which often can throw off your exposure. But the amount of detail is also really nice. It's not such a huge jump that you can read license plates from 100 feet away, but it was definitely noticeable that it was an improvement in detail, and that was the first thing I noticed when I watched clips, is that it's a lot more detailed, and it does actually make reading license plates quite a bit easier, so I really like that. Now in complete darkness, the camera does pretty well, I thought. When I compared footage with Mobius on rural highways like this at night, I felt like the Mobius just doesn't pick up much light. And I've said before, my headlights aren't that great, but I felt like here, I mean, it's still really dark, but it seemed to pick up light a lot better, at least from what it... But for my full review, I'm probably going to do a comparison of this camera with the G1W, since that seems to be the most popular camera in the US. I included this clip because the storefront has a lot of signs, so it was a good opportunity to show how well this camera can pick up small detail like text and advertisements. But even though this camera does have really high quality picture with a 1296p resolution and the high megapixel image sensor, harsh lighting conditions are always going to limit the picture quality. So here you can see it was pretty hard to read this car's license plate just because of the really harsh light. So as usual, I'm going to take a few weeks to use this camera. In the full review, I'll make sure to have a full walkthrough of the menu. The menu seemed a little confusing at first. The buttons weren't very obvious without reading the manual. Also, I'm going to do comparisons between the G1W picture quality and this one. I'm going to include some comparisons with the CPL filter and without. and I'll try to think of anything else people might have questions about related to this camera. But so far I'm really impressed with the picture quality. I'm impressed with the overall package. I believe this one is $170 from digcams.com, and that's, with the hard wiring kit, with the CPL, and obviously this has built-in GPS and quite a lot of other little extras. So overall, I'm excited to keep using this camera. So look out for the full review in a couple weeks, and if you like this video or my other videos, please hit like and subscribe.